Oh, here goes, and welcome to the 81st episode of Throwback Hoops. Woody V's in the house. Please follow the show on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast. And as always, I'm joined by my main man, Robbie Clayton. What's up, bro?
What's up, Woods? 81, mate. Jeez, we're getting up there now, aren't we? Yeah.
Hell yeah, man.
Good to be here.
Approaching our third full season, right?
That's right, yeah.
Terrific work, man. Terrific work. It's been a pleasure. Okay, so, as always, Robbie, let's get into it, man. And I know you got some special jerseys today, so why don't you tell the audience a little bit about what you want to showcase today?
Got some long and forgotten jerseys about today. So I'm going to do a little bit different today, Woods. I'm not going to kind of talk about the players. I'm going to more actually talk about the jerseys. So
I like it.
Yeah, well, so hanging behind me is a Rajon Rondo green Boston Celtics Adidas sleeved jersey. So yes, the sleeved jerseys that everyone forgot about. I'll stand up and show you the one I'm wearing, and I'll talk a little bit about the actual jersey. So one I'm wearing today is obviously one of my favourite all-time players, Josh Smith. It's a blue Detroit Pistons Motor City Adidas sleeve jersey. So if there's another one of these in Australia, I'd love to see it. There's probably not, but I'll just stand up and show you what these actually look like. Because with the Rondo one, it just almost looks like a shooting shirt, right? You can't see that.
Yes.
You can see the number on the side, but I'll just show you what this one looks like from the back.
So Robbie just told the audience, those who can't see, he's wearing a blue Motor City Detroit Pistons Josh Smith jersey.
Pretty cool.
Pretty cool. One of how many Josh Smith jerseys you've got?
Oh, I don't know, well over 20. Pretty much got
20.
all these teams except I think he played like 3 games at the Pelicans, and I went to get a jersey there, but it never happened. But I've got Josh Smith, Rockets, Clippers, Pistons, and then way too many Hawks jerseys. But anyway, all right, I'll talk a little bit about these jerseys, Wood. So you'll probably remember them. They were worn between 2013 and 2017. Safe to say they were not very popular. So when Nike took over from Adidas in 2017, they advised they had no plans to continue with the sleeve jerseys. Now they're very much long and forgotten. I've got to say today, Woods, it's very cold in Sydney. It's, Wednesday the 28th of June. It's like 10 degrees here, so it's actually nice to have the sleeve jersey on, but I can't imagine shooting in one of these things, so I can imagine why the players didn't like it. So Golden State were actually the first team that wore these jerseys. And Cleveland actually had some success in the 2015 run, I think it was, wearing them. Even though a few games that season where LeBron actually ripped the sleeves off because he found them so uncomfortable. The first year they did them, the Christmas Day games actually brought out some pretty interesting quotes from some players there, Woods, which I just wanted to mention there. So Steph Curry noted that they're ugly. My man Dirk Nowitzki said, "Call me old school, but these sleeve jerseys are awful." And then Robin Lopez perhaps is the one that went in a little bit harder than them. So he said there needs to be a mass burning of these sleeve jerseys. So that was what Robin Lopez said there. So, sales were pretty low. I think most people would generally consider this a bit of a failure. I don't think it's something we're going to see anytime soon. Like I said, I think they're good, to almost like a T-shirt style thing to wear around. But can you imagine shooting, Woods, with these sleeves that come down all the way like that? I think it would be really strange. And no wonder the players found it a bit of a shock there. I just don't think it really sort of hit off with fans. They were actually more expensive than what a normal jersey was, maybe with the extra material there. So that probably turned a few people away. I want to ask your thoughts firstly, Woods, but also just for, viewers as well. I was say, if any viewers have got any of these shirts out there, post them on socials. Let us know what you've got, what your thoughts were, and everything else like that. But, what were your thoughts? I believe you don't own any, right?
No, I think I bought one for my brother, a Paul Gasol one, I think a Lakers one. Maybe it was just a jersey, right, that you could buy, right, that players didn't wear. But for me, I always wear an undershirt underneath my singlet. You'll know, you've played with me for years, right? So the whole having a shirt, a long sleeve while you're shooting doesn't bother me because I actually prefer, and you see in the college game a lot of people do wear undershirts below their singlets, right? Sure, maybe not a hit with the players, but it's really nice for the fans to wear one around, right?
It's like a soccer shirt sort of feel to it. That's what I find like that. I do kind of like this one, the Motor City one. This was actually really hard to get this one off the Detroit store. Woods, I'll give you one guess. I've got a third one of these jerseys, so 3 in my collection. If you can guess who the third one is, I'll be very impressed. I think you've no chance of guessing. It's a bit of a random one.
What team?
Denver Nuggets. A little guy that I used to like it was playing around that era that's got very quickly booted out of the league.
Ty Lawson?
Correct. Yes, should be against the law, son. Yeah, so got a Ty Lawson
Gotcha.
yellow one somewhere in the cupboard. Yeah, so anyway, I just thought I'd talk about these, something a bit different. But yeah, I think a lot of people have forgotten about these jerseys now. I know I had. This one's still got its tags on it, so obviously I've never worn this one. Actually, might start wearing this one a bit more now. It's probably something a bit more suitable for these cold winter months as well. But,
For sure.
Yeah, I see you rocking a nice old school Pacers one there. So who you got for us?
I'll just stand up and you can take the audience through it, Robbie.
Nice. So Woods is standing up, rocking the number 7 Indiana Pacers, Jermaine O'Neal. So I know that's someone that Woody was always a bit of a fan of. What brand is that one, Woods?
This is I don't even know, man. It's an Adidas.
It's an Adidas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. It's good colours.
Yeah, so Jermaine O'Neal, I mean, he's still playing in the Big Three. He played in the Big Three for a little while, didn't he?
I think he might have stopped now. Big Three starting in about the next week or so, by the way. You know I'm up on that, but I think he might not be playing anymore in that. Yeah.
Right, so a little bit about Jermaine O'Neal. Had a successful high school career and declared his eligibility for the 96 NBA draft straight out of high school. And at just 17 years of age, he was selected by the Portland Trailblazers with the 17th overall pick in the 1996 draft. And he had an 18-year career, which spanned across 3 decades with the Portland Trailblazers, the Indiana Pacers, Toronto Raptors, Miami Heat, Boston Celtics, Phoenix Suns, and Golden State Warriors. He was a 6-time NBA All-Star, All-NBA second-teamer in 2004, 2-time All-NBA third-teamer, NBA's most improved player in 2002. Just a veteran who managed to, had a few injuries and things along the way, but managed to stay the course and have an extremely long NBA career. I guess one of the black marks on his career was the Malice in the Palace at Auburn Hills.
Same as Derek Coleman, who we spoke about last week, although Coleman wasn't as involved as what Jermaine O'Neal was. But yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah, obviously, I think he was the one who threw one of those big punches, right? And ended up getting suspended for 25 games.
Yeah.
I think Scott Pollard was saying that, look, that punch was really, really tough, really tough, and he's surprised that the fan that came on the court didn't get injured more, right? But I mean, that was a tough time for everyone, but he came out of that and managed to finish off his career really well. And for a guy who came out of high school who had to learn the game from a young age, he really had a pretty good career, didn't he?
Well, you're right about the 3 decades thing. I always sort of like the players that have played on that. I know Vince Carter's another one. So if people don't know what we mean by that, it means obviously played in the 90s, the noughties, and then whatever we call that next decade, the 10s. I don't know. I still haven't quite worked out what that is. But yeah, it's pretty unique, isn't it, to be playing that sort of time. And how many teams did you say he played for in the end?
So he played for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams.
Yeah, so he probably bounced around a little bit more towards the end of it, didn't he? But he was always someone that played. The teams were always trying to get someone of his, the way he sort of played the game back then as well. But no, liking that jersey.
Awesome. So some great jerseys today. So let's get into the show, Robbie. Last week we had the 2023 NBA draft, right? And I gave us some homework for the week, right? The homework was, I'd like you to select 3 players in the first round and 2 players from the second round to speak a little bit about and the kind of impact they're going to have as a professional on their teams, what their strengths and weaknesses are, etc. So how'd you go with that, man?
Hey, Woods, you're not going to tell me the dog ate your homework by any chance, though? Or you did yours, right?
No, I did mine.
All right, nice. No, it was good. I sort of looked into it. I've got to say, I didn't feel like I knew as many people from this draft as perhaps I previously did. I think, obviously, quite a few of the lottery picks we knew a fair bit about, but I think once it got past about maybe pick 20, there was definitely a few people like, right, legit never heard of that person there. But no, I enjoyed the little homework assignment. I think we're going to go through one by one with a couple of players from each round, like you said.
So why don't you take it away?
All right, cool. Well, my first homework assignment, I decided to talk a little bit about Scoot Henderson. So as we know, he went pick 3 to Portland. It was an interesting one. I think until recently people thought he would have gone at pick 2, but it just turned out that the teams that had pick 2 and pick 3 in the draft, the Hornets and the Blazers respectively, were both really set at point guard. So it was quite an interesting dilemma for both teams there. So the Blazers ended up picking him at pick 3 there. Look, there's someone we've known about for quite a while, right, Woods? There's been a lot of hype about this guy. He's had 2 years in the G League. I think he played, in the All-Star game, what do they call that thing now, with the Rising Stars, whatever.
Rising Stars
G League team. Yep. So
yep.
Certainly someone that's been on everyone's radars for a while. From what I sort of gather with him, perhaps he didn't improve maybe as much as people expected in year 2. Still had some big moments. I think he's considered quite a big game player in big situations there, but I just think there was a few, maybe parts of his game that he didn't improve on there. I think shooting something that
Yep,
probably
for
still needs a
sure.
bit of work there. But either way, he's a very intriguing prospect at age 19. Look, I don't think it was the best case scenario for him going to a team like Portland, given that they've got a franchise player there in Dame. We're not sure what's going on with Dame. Will he, won't he stay? I'd probably lean towards more that he might stay. One thing I did sort of think of though, Woods, it's not going to be the first time that Dame's played with another short backcourt partner there. He's obviously done it with CJ over the years there, so perhaps they can make it work. I
Well,
think he's a
CJ could
pretty,
shoot,
yeah, that's true. That's true.
right? That's the difference. Yeah.
That's obviously, he's got to put a lot of work into that scoop there. But look, someone I know you wanted us to sort of give a bit of a player comparison there. The one that I've sort of seen a few people saying, and I can see it is a little bit there. And it's one of his idols as well. It's Russell Westbrook. So
Right.
a little bit there. Obviously that speed and sort of getting people going downhill and everything. And obviously the shot needs a bit of work there. So that was my first homework assignment there. I'm looking forward to see how this guy goes though. I think Portland did pretty well in the draft with the 3 picks they got. I believe they got the brother of the Sacramento player whose name I'm blanking on, the draft pick from last year.
Keegan Murray's brother.
Yeah, so they got his brother, and obviously they got another player that I'm going to be talking about later on in this little chat there. So, yeah, nice. So why don't you take it away with your first?
Well, just to finish off there, if Portland does keep Damian Lillard, he can learn a lot from Damian Lillard,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
So that's
Good player
great.
to teach him. Yeah.
Derrick Rose comparisons there have come up as well, right? Okay, so look, I was going to kick off with Victor Wemby, but I thought maybe I'll start off with Brandon Miller because you talked about the fit, right? And I think that the Hornets picked Brandon Miller because he was a better fit than Scoot, right?
Yeah.
And look, you talk about Brandon Miller. He's an extremely talented 6'9", 3'4" man with a lanky frame. He's got good length, and his athleticism is okay. He has an intriguing scoring arsenal, right? He can shoot the ball over many wings due to his size. He can also operate in the mid-range and occasionally in the post as well. I mean, he's a sniper from distance, and that's what Charlotte need, right, Robbie? He's got a quick release. His range is well past the NBA three-point line, whether spotting up through screens or pulling up off the dribble. His size on the perimeter makes him effective at sticking contested shots, right? And the Hornets are really going to benefit from that, playing alongside someone like LaMelo Ball. Some things that he needs to work on are, though he has, let's say, above average athleticism, he lacks great burst and explosiveness. Sometimes he has a hard time separating off the dribble and has to take contested shots. Doesn't get to the rim that much in the half-court offense. Nothing more than a decent leaper, let's say. And he doesn't convert amongst the trees in traffic, right? So these are the areas that he really needs to work on. Brandon Miller obviously picked second from the Hornets. I like his upside there. And I was going to say with the player comparison, I'm going to go with someone like Paul George, right? Probably Paul George slightly more athletic, but similar sort of game to Paul George, right?
You can see why he went so high. I think there's a lot of good point guards in the league these days, right? So a lot of teams have got point guards. So I do think that 3-4 type position is one of those ones that a lot of teams are trying to improve on. I don't think there's as many. I mean, you see even when we play fantasy, right? There's always guards everywhere, but the forward spots, they're always a little bit harder to fill, right? So,
For sure.
Yeah, apparently he really impressed MJ in the second workout. I think the first workout they're a little bit unsure, but the second workout he had with the Hornets there obviously went really well. So, no, he's going to be an exciting one to watch. And he might replace Bridges, who, I spoke about last week. They're obviously looking to replace that type of position as well. So, yeah.
All right. Well, why don't you move on to your second first rounder?
Second one. So, look, on a bit of a French theme coming up here. So, I'm going to talk about Bilal Coulibaly. So, definitely one of the better names in the draft there, Woods. So, he went to Washington at pick 7 via the Pacers. So, again, going back to last week, what was one of those things I said? I said Washington have got a track record of picking international players. So, give myself a little pat on the back of my sleeve jersey for that one there. So this is an interesting one. He was someone that probably wasn't on a lot of people's radars even a couple of months ago. I think it definitely helped that he was a teammate of Wemby there. So much, obviously, scouting occurred, watching that team there. And I think probably people sort of realised that, okay, this guy's got some talent as well, and they started watching him a little bit more. From all accounts, he's apparently a really hard-working player and a good person as well. So I think that was something that intrigued people there.
Yep.
I think he's still a little bit of an unknown player there. He's certainly expected to be a quality defender straight away. I think they'd like for him to eventually be a really high level 3 and D type player. And look, honestly, with this Wizards team at the moment, Woods, he could get minutes straight away. He could actually take some minutes away from your boy Cooks as well, which maybe wasn't the best thing for Cooks there. But I quite like the pick there. They actually they gave up quite a bit to get him, didn't they? They really wanted him, Washington. I think they gave away 2 second rounders just to move up one spot there, which is obviously show that they were pretty high on this guy. Probably the best player comparison I've seen so far. It's not like a big name there, but it's someone like OG Anunoby. Someone that if you can play that sort of style. But looking forward to see how it'll go. He's got some interesting highlight packages as well. So Bilal Coulibaly, definitely a good name there as well.
He's going to get the opportunity to play in Washington, who are in a rebuild at the moment, so he can learn from some of his mistakes and play through them and not get dragged, right? Because Washington are in that rebuilding phase. So I think it's a good fit for him, right?
No, definitely.
All right, from one Frenchman to another, right? We have to talk about Wemby, Victor Wembanyama.
I've heard of this guy, right? Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. All right, so number 1 overall pick for the Spurs. A generational talent, right? The sky is the limit for Wemby, right, Robbie?
Oh, absolutely. Really excited. I'll be watching more Spurs game this coming season probably than I've watched in quite a few years, I must say.
Well, he has rare potential for a center in today's NBA. Amazing size for his position with unprecedented length, including a wingspan measuring 8 feet, right? Remarkable coordination for a player of his size, which is hard to see. And also his length and age, right? Surprisingly agile and fluid for a human being that big. You don't see that often. A jaw-dropping physical specimen, a supreme athlete with hand-eye coordination and dexterity at that size, which is... It is really a unicorn. He runs the floor like a deer, has long strides and covers a lot of ground, and finishes plays with solid body control. So these intangibles are just amazing. If you want to talk about some areas that he can improve, he has bulked up considerably over the last year, but he still needs to add some muscle to his frame. I mean, we've seen past players with his size and the health of large big men. You talk about Kristaps Porzingis comes to mind, right? He'll always be a concern and curtails his ceiling to an extent, right? If he gets injured.
Chet Holmgren as well last year.
Correct.
Similar sort of body type. They're not as big, obviously, but
Correct. Already has 3 minor injuries that resulted in missing playing time this last year. So he has to add strength to his torso without actually losing mobility. So I think having the Spurs backroom staff who will help him, it's going to be a big advantage to him. You talk about NBA player comparisons. I'm going to go with Ralph Sampson, one of the Twin Towers for Houston back in the day, right? Ralph Sampson, I mean, he played in a different era, but he had some of those skills.
I will say, though, Ralph Sampson never took a shot outside of the key. But, probably like had he been playing in this era now, it would have been different.
Correct, so, but he was able to put the ball on the floor, get a rebound and handle the ball, Ralph Sampson, right? He didn't need to back then, but if there's a comparison, I'm going to go with that, right?
Ah, true. Hey, I love those photos even this week at the Spurs facility with Sean Elliott, David Robinson, Tim Duncan. Seeing him next to David Robinson, so I always had David Robinson listed as 7'1". I'm not sure.
7'1", yep.
He was like towering over him. And even the whole photo of all the draft picks there where he's in the middle behind Adam Silver, it's just ridiculous how tall this guy is. So, really excited to watch this guy play. I think he's going to make an immediate impact on the defensive end. I think that's going to be the big thing there.
Absolutely.
Interesting to see how his offense goes. Not sure. Who's running the point with the Spurs these days? Who's going to be feeding this guy?
Trey Jones? So is it?
Yeah, so they kind of lack that real gun type point guard, don't they? But I mean, look, it's going to be fun to see him. I think league pass ratings for the Spurs this next season are going to be at an all-time high there. So, will you be buying a Wemby jersey? Luke?
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah, nice.
Hell yeah, got it. All right, so let's move on. Who was the third selection you made in the first round?
My third and last sort of first round I wanted to talk about. Probably a name that people were a bit more familiar with there, and that was Cam Whitmore, who went pick number 20 to Houston. So this was an interesting one, wasn't it? So he was someone that was expected to potentially go in the top 5 or 6 picks. So I think even a month ago, people were saying he was going to be a top 6 pick. Apparently, reportedly had some pretty poor workouts, some questionable interviews, and there's also a couple of medical concerns there. So it's a bit of a worry, isn't it, when you factor in all 3 of those? He's not interviewing well, he's not working out well. Perhaps there's some issues injury-wise as well. So, look, it really scared off a few teams there. But I quite like what Houston have done there. We know they're sort of building up a very young team there. They've got some quality players there that I think are going to be better this season. Obviously, it's getting that extra year under their legs there. But he's certainly got an NBA-ready body. That's the first thing you can notice about this guy. So I think he can come in and be a great defender straight away. I think improvement on his shot will be the big thing he'll need to work on there, and that will probably depend on his work ethic there. So that's perhaps a question mark how he'll go with that. I think if he can, he might sort of be one of those players that has a bit of a chip on his shoulder now. Obviously, sliding from pick 5 to pick 20 can, be a big difference in potential earnings there for sure. So he might have that chip on his shoulder and come out and really fire straight away. Player comparison for this one, maybe a little bit of a reach there, given this guy's an All-NBA second player, but maybe Jaylen Brown, maybe that's a similar sort of role there. Hopefully he's got some better ball handling skills than Jaylen Brown, because we know they're pretty ordinary. But yeah, looking forward to see how it'll go. I quite liked watching Houston towards the end of last season, guys like Green and even Kevin Porter Jr. and Jabari and those sort of guys. So they continue to get younger there. They possibly need some veteran sort of guys there that might keep these guys in line. But yeah, I'll be interested to see how Mr. Whitmore goes.
Yeah, once again, it's a good spot for him, so he can learn on the job, right? And he'll get his opportunity to play right away. So
for sure.
All right. So for my last one,
for the first round,
last one for the first round, I went with Jett Howard, the 11th pick of the Orlando Magic, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of people were surprised that he got taken so high, but I've done a lot of research and watched a lot of footage on Jett Howard, and look, he's a physically gifted swingman who stands at a legitimate 6'8", 215. With a good frame that should have little problem matching up on the wing at the pro level, right? He's a floor spacer. Shooting comes at a premium these days in the NBA, Robbie. He likes to shoot from the perimeter, so that fits well into Orlando, who have got a lot of ball handlers there as well. He moves well without the ball and can be dangerous hitting shots when navigating screens and handoffs. But I think, as I said, he'll have a role to play at the Magic right away. But much like Brandon Miller, he lacks a little in the way of athleticism and explosiveness. Well, he won't strike fear into NBA defenders off the dribble, particularly in like an isolation environment, and usually needs a ball screen or a running start to generate the momentum to get downhill or into the paint. He doesn't get all the way into the paint, similar to Brandon Miller, and he struggles to finish among the tall guys. So these are some areas that he can improve on. If I'm going to go with a player comparison for Jett Howard, thought about this. I'd go with Doug McBuckets from San Antonio, right?
Okay, yeah.
Seen a bit of Jett? Or
a little bit. You didn't mention that Juwan Howard's his dad there. So I'm quite know that one. Okay, you did, of course.
Yep.
Well, look, for me, Woods, I'm a Michigan fan in college, and I loved Juwan Howard back in the day. So I'm going to definitely be sort of supporting this guy. He's someone I'm excited to see straight away. Look, I've heard a few people almost comparing to a younger Devin Booker as well. Not quite sure. There's obviously a little bit of Devin Booker's almost a superstar, you'd say, these days. So he's got a little bit to work on for there. But no, I'm looking forward to see how we'll go. And that Orlando team, they've got some real weapons, don't they?
Yeah, for sure. And they're young and up and coming. And you think, they're going to start making a little bit more of an impact this year with the roster they have, I think. Right?
Agreed. Yeah.
All right, let's go to the second round. All right, I asked you to think about some flyers, some steals in that second round.
Yeah.
So we decided we'd go with two of those. So who's the first one in the second round you decided to choose?
So look, I thought I'd have to talk about Rajon Rupert, if I'm pronouncing that well in that French accent. If you were like a real Aussie sort of bogan, you'd say it's Ryan Rupert, right? But no, we'll say it in the French sort of way there. So he went at pick 42 to Portland. Obviously, most people following this show will know that he was an NBL Next Star last year for New Zealand. I'm looking forward to see how he'll go as well. He's probably someone that, look, he was okay in the NBL last year. I don't think he reached any great heights there, but let's not forget he also played on a really deep team and a team that went really far as well. So he wasn't expected to contribute, had 3 really great imports around him last year as well. But look, apparently Portland are absolutely thrilled to get this guy. He was someone that was in the green room, Wood, so that's normally someone that's expected to go perhaps in the maybe top 20 picks or so. So he was the last one left there. So would have been a little bit of a nervous wait going through to pick 42 there. But look, I see him as someone that can come in and play, instant defense straight away.
Agreed.
Combining with someone like Aussie Matisse Thybulle as well. So I think those two guys will be great playing behind Dame and Scoot there. They've got length. They're physical. So I think that's a good sort of good mix to play with those sort of smaller guards that I mentioned there. Yeah, looking forward to see how we go. We know he's got some good pedigree there. I think his sister either played or still plays WNBA.
And plays for France as well.
Yeah, and his dad was apparently an absolute gun as well. So I've probably been a little bit lazy with my player comparison. And I'm going to say fellow Frenchman Nick Batum.
Oh, I do like that.
So he probably does need to work on his three-point shooting, but let's face it, I don't think Nick Batum was the three-point shooter that he is now when he first came out. He was a good distributor, good defenders. He had ridiculously long arms.
Hey, where did Nick Batum start?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's a good comparison, isn't it? And I believe they're from the same area, like Le Mans, I think, in France as well. So it's pretty cool.
That's great. Well, tell me something. Do you think he's gonna spend a bit of time in the G League this year? He might not get a
Yeah,
rotation minutes right away, correct?
possibly. I don't think they're the deepest team as well, Paul. And so I wouldn't be surprised if his defense is as legit as we think it is. Maybe he won't play in the G League. Maybe he will potentially play a lot of minutes on that team there. But like I said, I like that fit with him and Matisse Thybulle there. They'll both probably, I'm assuming they'll both come off the bench. Thybulle, I know, started a few games late
Yep.
last year, but it brings some real, defensive effort and athleticism off that bench there. So yeah, looking forward to see how he goes for sure. And I guess we always have a soft spot for these guys that
For
play
sure.
in the NBL, don't we? We always follow their careers a little bit more, and that's probably a little bit of a segue for someone that you might be talking about next.
Fine. Let me move from one NBL alumni to another. I'm going to talk about Mojave King. He was the 47th pick of the Lakers, but then got traded to the Pacers on draft night, Robbie.
Yeah.
By all reports, he's going to be stashed overseas. Look, we know him. He's a bulky shooting guard. He's got good size, has all the necessary tools to become like a 3-and-D player at the pro level. We've seen him, as I said, here in NBL. And at times he was unplayable with Cairns under Mike Kelly and also in Adelaide with CJ. I know he's had a solid G League season, Robbie, last year, but I'm
Yeah.
still not convinced he's an NBA player. As I said, the Pacers are going to stash him overseas, but it remains to be seen whether he'll actually see the NBA hardwood. He really needs to improve in certain areas. He's not an elite athlete, we know that. He needs a lot of work as a facilitator. See, if he has some ball handling capabilities and he polishes them up, he's going to be a bit more versatile and maybe they can move him to the one sometimes, right? It's something that's required in the NBA these days. You got to be flexible. He's a below average pull-up shooter despite having a clean jump shot. His decision making needs a lot of work. So he's prone to commit turnovers. We've seen that before.
Yeah.
Look, I'm going to go way back and go with the player comparison here with Greg Buckner. You remember Greg Buckner?
Wow, that's really going far back.
3-and-D guy, similar size, similar frame, could do some of the basics, right, but was very limited in being able to do more. So he's going to have to work on his game. Greg Buckner wouldn't have survived in today's NBA, right? He was able to do that in the early 2000s, but yes.
And I said to you on the weekend as well, I said, I always thought he was Aussie and not a Kiwi. And you sort of clarified, said, look, he's one of these players. He is born in New Zealand, but I believe was he raised in Australia and played
At the age of 7, his father came and got a job working with Queensland basketball, and he stayed there till he was 18. So he spent from the age of 7 to 18, 19 in Australia, right? And he has said in the past that he would like to represent Australia. So it's one of those things like Aaron Baines was a New Zealander for years, right? Until the commentators in the US saw him playing for Australia and realized he's actually Aussie. So I'm sure he can commit to either country, though, if he chooses to in the future. Yeah.
Nice. Well, for my last one there, I decided to talk about someone that went at pick 49. It's someone that's a little bit well known because he was very highly regarded. So that's Amoni Bates, who was pick 49 to Cleveland there. He was a player that some people didn't even know if he'd get drafted would. So to go at pick 49 probably wasn't too bad an effort. As I said, he was considered top 5 in his class a couple of years ago, coming out of high school there. So very highly regarded player. Ended up dealing with some injuries. Struggled to find his fit a little bit at the college level. Also had several off-court issues, which sort of clouded things a little bit there.
Yep.
So, look, he's very tall and lanky. I know body-wise, he's been compared to Brandon Ingram. He's 6'9" and about 85 kilos, which is just amazing. So he's certainly got a lot of work to do on his body. And also one of those players that he's not the real high-flying sort of guy there. He does have some scoring potential. I think that could eventually make him into a decent six-man, but I'd say he's a real candidate, even though the Cavs are needing these sort of players to spend a bit of time in the G League this year. Look, I didn't have much of a player comparison with this one, Wood, so I actually went on a website to find it. So it's the first one I kind of didn't get myself. But people are comparing him to Brandon Boston. So a bit of a random one there. Exactly. A bit strange, I know. But, interesting. As I said, he was almost a household name a couple of years ago, and just things didn't quite work out. Injuries and a few sort of off-court things, like I said. But hopefully things turn out for him and he continues to work on his game and finds an NBA career.
Interesting storyline, Let's see how it plays out, right?
Yeah.
Second round's always hit and miss, right? So, if you can find a steal there, then that's great, Robbie. Thanks for that. Thanks for those 5 as well. So, look, the last one I'm going to go with is Lennon Miller for the Timberwolves, okay? He was pick number 33 from memory, if I'm not mistaken. Let's have a look here. 33rd pick for the Timberwolves, right?
Yeah.
Miller is a long 6'10" with nicely developing strength, and he should only continue to fill out this frame as he develops further in the NBA. He's a solid run and jump athlete that's most effective on the move, has plenty of success as a rim runner, so he can run the floor, get up and down the floor really quickly before other big guys. He did a great job of finishing around the hoop in college. Also shows good timing as a cutter and when operating as a roller in the screening game, being someone who can chip in with easy points, having plays not directly called for him. So that's great, an advantage there. He'll probably spend a lot of time in the G League in his first season before being a solid contributor as his career progresses. Who knows what's going to happen there with the two big guys, right? Rudy and Kat, we don't know what their future is. So he might get an opportunity to make more of an impact in year 2, but still getting the opportunity to learn from those two veterans in his first year. What he needs to work on is his offensive skill set. He's pretty raw. And some of his fundamentals need to be refined, particularly in the half court. Struggles as a foreplay, so he can't really shoot the ball from deep. He has a slow mechanical shooting form that leads to flat misses. He's inconsistent footwork getting into his shot when spotting up. So these are some things that he can work on. But this is a guy that I think fell a little bit further than a lot of people expected. I'm going to go with Andre Blash as a player comparison there.
I'm a big fan of Mr. Blash, yeah. Actually, I'm going to rock his jersey. It just reminded me. I've been thinking about wearing that for ages because I think I might be the only one with an Andre Blash jersey.
I knew you'd like that. I had a few player comparisons, but I said I'll bring up Andre Blash's name because Robbie would like that, right?
Nice. The Philippines like him as well. Yeah.
All right, awesome. That's great, man. Some really insightful analysis there, Robbie. I really appreciate that. Now, this draft overall, it's not looking as strong as drafts previously. We'll have to see how it plays out and what kind of future some of these guys have, right?
For sure, yep.
All right, so let's go around the grounds really quickly, shall we?
Sounds good.
You've been keeping your eye on the FIBA Women's Asia Cup?
Yeah, so I've watched the first 2 games so far. I'll be looking forward to watch the big game tonight, isn't it? So we mentioned it's Wednesday the 28th, so Australia play Japan tonight. Look, it does seem like it's really a 3-horse race, doesn't it? It's sort of, Japan, China and Australia, and everyone else is way down there. But yeah, I've liked what the Opals have shown in those first few games. Now, it's obviously a bit of a new look team. A couple of the girls there I hadn't seen a lot of in the past. I think Horvat being one of them there. She's been really impressive. But yeah, it's been good to watch. And I think, like we've said, they've got so much more of an appreciation for women's basketball.
Absolutely.
We'll talk a little bit about that more when we talk some NBL1. But yeah, just really enjoy it's below the ring. It's totally different than the men's game, but it's still a really enjoyable product to watch. So yeah, hopefully they can go all the way. I believe you're going on the weekend, are you, to the semis? Or?
I am. I'm going to the semis, both semi-final games, the qualifier and the 2 semi-final games, which is going to be nice with some of our friends from the basketball community. So it's going to be really fun. And we encourage anyone who listens to this, get out there on Saturday or Sunday. I'm sure you can still get tickets.
I think Sunday's sold out, actually.
Sunday's sold out, is it? Okay, so Saturday you can still get out there, go and watch the games. You get a day pass, and it's going to be good out at Homebush, right? So,
sure. Yeah.
And it's not at Kudos Bank Arena; it's at the other stadium, right? The Key Arena,
right in front of P3, I think it is.
Yeah, the Key Arena, right?
Stone's throw away from that car park there, so easy one to get to. Yeah.
Awesome, big game tonight. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's talk about some trades, man. I'll let you wax lyrical. John Collins to the Utah Jazz, man. How does that make you feel?
Mate, I'm still pretty down about it, as you can imagine.
Oh, man.
Those regulars, know how passionate I am about the Hawks. And JC is my favourite, was my favourite Hawks player. So it's not the normal sort of trade there. As much as I love trade, John Collins has always been someone that I've just loved playing. I said to you today, it's still kind of sinking in for me, as much as it wasn't a shock because he's been in these rumours for quite some time now. Probably quite disappointing to see what we got for it there, but obviously that's the market that we're in now. For me, probably people do talk about his contract there. I think it went a little bit, above that sort of figures there. I think he was such an important part of that Hawks team. He was the glue. He was the heartbeat for their team. He was someone that was just such a good teammate. It was something that even my daughter and I would watch there. He'd be the first person off the bench. He could be getting benched the whole second half. If there was a timeout, he'd be the first one off the bench, going and showing love to the guy that's playing in front of him. It's very rare in this sort of league now. So absolutely love the guy's attitude. Going to miss him, to be honest. I think he was never quite the same after that finger injury that he had. That did impact his shooting and the shooting percentages there. Would have loved if we could have kept him. I understand it is a business, this league. The thing that does worry me with the Hawks is they have shown that history of being cheap in the past. So, a few people have said, maybe they're going to try and throw money at Jaylen Brown or something. Look, I'd love if they did, but knowing what the Hawks are like, they're probably just trying to get under the paying that luxury for the salary cap that next year. And this is obviously, did that. Getting Rudy Gay, I mean, honestly, I actually liked Rudy Gay Woods 15 years ago. So I don't even know whether he'd make the roster, to be honest. he averaged 5 points and shot less than 40% last year. So I'd be would you put him on the roster ahead of some of the rookies we've drafted this year? I'd say possibly doubtful. We might end up getting rid of him, but we'll see.
Having a veteran at the end of the bench doesn't hurt, right? So
I was going to rock my John Collins jersey today, almost as a bit of a thank you, but I had these ones planned. But yeah, it was a sad day. I took it pretty hard, I've got to say, Woods. I sort of was sitting on the bus yesterday and checked it out. I'm like, oh my God. And then literally my phone has started blowing up, getting all these messages 10 minutes later. So, I really appreciate
all
JC,
all these thanks for your service, right?
He'll definitely be listening to this, Woods. So yeah, for sure. Thanks for all you did for us, JC. Yep.
For sure. Okay, so let's move to the Boston Celtics, who had a huge trade, getting Kristaps Porzingis. KP came over there. Marcus Smart going to the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yep.
Tyus Jones then to the Wizards, along with Mike Muscala and Daniela Gallinari, right?
Yeah.
Three-way trade. So let's talk about the impact. Let's start at Memphis. What kind of impact is Marcus Smart going to have in Memphis?
I think probably a change of scenery would be good for him. And he was one of those players that had been with his team, a long time. I think it was 8 or 9 seasons.
9 seasons.
What JC had been with the Hawks, yeah. So it'd be interesting him going to Memphis. I'm not sure about that, if they plan on starting him. If you can start someone, like him, Ja Morant. They've got a lot of non-shooters on that team, I've got to say. And people will say, look, Marcus Smart can get hot. Yeah, he can get hot sometimes, but then he can brick it up for about a month after that. So he'll give them some toughness, that's for sure. They're going to have some great defenders in that team. You've got, Steven Adams. You've got the reigning Defensive Player of the Year in Jaren Jackson Jr. Now you've got Marcus Smart there. So, yeah, I think it's all right for Memphis there. But I think it was probably all about Boston, wasn't it? They clearly got the best player in this trade. Yeah, so I think that's another really good option for them. If Porzingis can stay healthy and stay motivated there, I mean, he's a huge part to have. And let's not forget, Boston did give up a really highly regarded point guard there. They've also got some pretty good point guards. They've got Malcolm Brogdon. They've got the forward. They've also got Peyton Pritchard, who I think they tried to find a few more minutes for. So they're still really loaded at that position there. And to give up guys like Gallo, who never actually played a minute for the Celtics there, and get someone back in Porzingis, I think they've done pretty well there. Yeah.
Look, the thing is that point guard position. Malcolm Brogdon, obviously the sixth man, has an injury history. Could there be a case to start Derek White as a point guard,
Yeah, I believe so, yeah. Why not? I mean, he really sort of came on in those playoff games, didn't he? He had some really good games there. He's a good defender as well, so you're not missing out on anything with him in that sort of regard there. So, yeah, why not play him? Let him sort of distribute more. I mean, you don't want Jaylen Brown handling the ball, assuming they bring him back. But, it's going to be strange seeing Porzingis playing in that Boston uniform there. And Washington, I guess, just not quite sure what they're doing. They're clearly just getting rid of salary. Like we said last week, it's a year too late.
Yep.
They wanted to sort of get in the Wemby sweepstakes. I should have done that earlier. But, Jones, I think, will put up big stats for him at the point guard there. But, yeah, it was a pretty decent trade, wasn't it?
Yeah, I like it. They probably still need to go out and get one more ball handler, point guard, potentially, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen with Brogdon. But I like it. With Al Horford getting a bit older, Porzingis is a good acquisition there. So, I like to see how that plays out. All right, let's move down under, all right? All the way to Sydney. And let's welcome Sydney's new coach. Let me get this right. Mahmoud Abdul Fateh. All right? Comes with a history coaching in the G League. Very experienced. Seems like a nice guy. Did you listen to him on the Huddle podcast?
Yeah, it's very impressive. I thought it was Fatah, but I could be wrong. You're the King. You're the Kings fan, so I'm going to trust you on that one. But no, look, he was really really good on that podcast, I thought. Very high pedigree coach. He's coached G League titles there. He's a Rockets assistant coach last year in the NBA. So, yeah, Sydney certainly spend their money on these coaches, don't they? They've shown that over the last few years. But no, I think he's going to really fit in well with the team and be a very passionate and a good leader, I think.
Yeah, I like it. I like his signing, and his attitude seems great. So we're happy to welcome him to the Harbour City. So let's stay in Sydney for a second. Alex Tui. I know he's someone you've had big ups on. It's a huge signing for us.
I'm all over that one, Wood. So, for those that don't know, he's actually absolutely starred for COE this year in the NBL1 East, which I'm proud to say I'm a commentator and sort of really follow that NBL1 East closely. So his brother, James Tui's been playing for Canberra for a couple of seasons, a very good player as well. But, I think that was good work there. So he had actually committed to Gonzaga, who's one of the big name colleges over there. They're always making the elite eight or the Sweet 16, and everything else like that.
Yep.
So you actually I forget what the word is, but when you basically say when you break up with them and say sorry, sort of thing. So yeah, the Kings, I believe they got it all sort of wrapped up pretty quickly there, and he's going to stay here. So I think that's a really big coup. I know, COE are playing Hills in a few weeks, Wood, so we'll have to go to that one. You get to see him. I get to see Ben Henschel, who's signed with the Wildcats, so we both get to see some young talent that'll be on our teams next season. But no, I think that's a really good move for the Kings there. I think he's got a really bright future.
Yeah, I agree with you, and really excited to watch him and how he develops this year.
Yeah.
Now, staying with Sydney at the moment, a little bit of a reunion happening with DJ Vasiljevic being signed by the Wizards Summer League team. So you're going to have Xavier Cooks and DJ Vasiljevic teaming up in the Summer League this year. Did you know that?
I saw a headline today, I think it was Aussie Hoopla maybe, shout out to them, that's saying DJ might be signing in Europe, so I'm not sure if you've heard any more about that. So
I don't know about the Europe signing, but I know he's going to be playing in the G League. I wouldn't be surprised. It makes sense, right?
Yeah,
and
possibly. We can be a local over there, can't he?
He's got that advantage.
So,
yep.
Yeah, interesting. But no, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I'm really looking forward to the Summer League. I know it's not the best type of basketball, but there's so many names that we know on those rosters. It's kind of funny when players from your own team are there, though, Wood, don't you find? So, like Keanu Pinder's there, I'm like, can you play well but not too well that someone wants to sign you there? Because I want you in that Wildcats jersey.
Well, you took the word out of my mouth. Very well deserved. He's representing the Phoenix Suns in the Summer League, if I'm not mistaken. KP, Keanu Pinder.
Yeah.
So, really happy to see how that goes. And with the spacing in the NBA, I think he's going to thrive, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, he'll be doing some good highlight reels in those Summer League games, I would have thought, if he actually gets the ball, of course.
For sure, or if he gets court time. Anyway, let's move on to the Tasmanian Jack Jumpers. They've actually closed out their roster. They've acquired Marcus Lee, Jordan Crawford, and Majok Deng. I think they also recently got Junior Madut locked up, right, officially. So their roster's complete for the season. We know what Marcus Lee offers. Tell me a little about Jordan Crawford with an O-N. Yeah?
Mate, Jordan Crawford's even shorter than you, and you're pretty short, Wood. So that's pretty amazing, isn't it? I mean, look, he's a veteran player. Apparently he plays with a lot of toughness and a lot of heart there. So perhaps the height thing won't be as much of a hindrance as it probably sounds on paper there. But, yeah, I think he's going to be a good player for them. I'm obviously a little bit sad to see Josh Majek go, but they've recruited really well this offseason, I think. It was great to get Milton Doyle back. Probably hasn't got as much press as maybe it should have there, given how good he was last year. And yeah, as you said, Majok Deng as well. I think he'll probably fit in well in that situation.
Veteran.
Yeah, and we're never quite sure with Will Magno, right, with his injury history there. So
exactly.
I think getting Marcus Lee was a no-brainer there. I have a feeling a lot of teams would have tried to have gotten Marcus Lee as well.
For sure.
So very good effort.
We would have taken him at the Kings, right?
Yeah, I was actually thinking he could have been a good one for the Kings. Yeah.
And you made a really good point there, talking about Will Magna's questionable injury history. Marcus Lee's perfect. The kind of role he played there with Isaac Humphries, injuries up in the air last year for Melbourne. Marcus Lee was so important for that United team down the stretch, right?
Yeah.
So he can play that same role here. Actually, interesting to say, Jordan Crawford came out and spoke about it. The three of them, the three imports, have all had a history together. Milton Doyle, himself, and Marcus Lee, whether it be playing against each other in college or in the G League or in Europe, they've all come across each other and they know each other pretty well. And Jordan Crawford actually tried to recruit Marcus Lee to come play with him in Europe recently, and it fell through. So he's looking forward to.
So some of those players might have got some of those referral bonuses.
Right.
People in these 9-to-5 jobs, if you refer someone, your mate, they get a job, you might get $500 or something. So maybe that happened there.
Right. And you mentioned, just before we move on, Jordan Crawford. He's a journeyman, well travelled, played all around the world. So he can fill in for those big shoes Josh Majek has left. Having that,
he's probably got small shoes, but no, I agree, he can fill those big shoes at the Jet.
Fair enough. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about Illawarra. Recruited really well. Oof, Gary Clark to Illawarra, man. Gary Clark. This guy's a legit NBA player, man, right?
We talked about this offline, didn't we, either yesterday or today? And, mate, the way this Illawarra team has built up their roster, I'm really impressed. I mean, they were, wooden spooners last year. They had a lot of bad luck with some of those close losses and that. But I don't see any reason why this team, they could certainly be looking at that top six there. And who knows, even higher than the top six there. So, yeah, I think they've done, shout out to Coach Jacob Jackomas and the ownership group there and everything. They've got some quality players in that lineup. But, yeah, Gary Clark, I mean, I think our man Olgan sort of mentioned they were in the DJ Hoke sweepstakes there and couldn't get him. You could almost say this is a ready-made replacement, someone with more of an NBA pedigree than what DJ Hoke did, obviously, in Clark there. So, yeah, it's a great signing for the Hawks, and they're going to be really fun to watch.
Did I hear they're in final talks with another next star from
Yeah,
Asia somewhere?
Korea, I think it was. Yeah, a guy
Yeah,
that played in the G League sort of thing. And he'll count as a local player as well, I believe.
yeah,
So,
because of the
I
Asian
mean,
rule.
man,
Like,
they're rounding out this roster. And even someone like Will Hickey has just come on amazingly in the NBL1 East this year. So he'll be, pressing for minutes there. So they're a deep team as well. They pretty much play all the way down the roster there. And they're going to be fun to watch.
and this news just in, your ex-Perth Wildcat is
Yeah,
returning to his old team, Toddy
saw
B.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's good to have that veteran there. We mentioned some of these younger players and stuff on that roster. He does seem like a decent teammate. I'm not sure how much he's got left in the tank, but he may make the Wildcats, eat their words there and go in and start filling it up again. But yeah, they're going to be good.
Yep, yeah, me too. Really excited. And hopefully we can have Jacob on the show to discuss the roster and how everything is going in the preseason, right?
Yeah, I'll reach out to him for sure.
All right, like we were going to talk about the COE versus Hills game, the women's game we were at.
Yeah.
How impressive was some of the talent we saw on show on Sunday, Robbie?
Absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, for those that aren't familiar with the name, so it's the Basketball Australia Centre of Excellence, or COE. So, look, they're playing them on separate days, which is a bit unusual, but they've been two games that have really been on my calendar, circled and underlined and highlighted just to go and check out some of these younger sort of talents there. So, we got to check out, obviously, the COE women's team, Woods, and it was great you coming down. Shout out to Nick, who came with you as well there.
Yep.
And yeah, look, I don't think it was ever expected to be a close game. I think it was 59 points in the end. And, Hills tried their best there. They had quite a few outs as well, but they were super impressive, weren't they, COE?
They were.
Very well coached. I had a chat with the coach who's leading that team in the under-19s, David Herbert. He was a nice guy there. And yeah, they were just, such a well-drilled team. They were always making that extra pass there. Really good fundamentals. They were doing, full court traps after every miss. I noticed there they get into these full court traps there and just wreaking havoc on defense with their length there. So, look, there was girls like Juffermans, who I knew was obviously putting up big numbers. The big one for me, and I know she stood out for you as well, was Lara Somfire there. So 16 years of age. She had 18 points and 6 rebounds. For those that haven't checked out COE, check them out. They've only got one game left actually in the regular season, but they will be in finals action there. But she was amazing. So as I mentioned, 16 years of age. She had that mix of size and handles and athleticism. She was dribbling around her back, drawing contact and then switching hands in midair and finishing with her left. She was a real standout, wasn't she?
Knocking down that open catch and shoot three. A physical specimen, a supreme athlete, high basketball IQ.
Yep.
At 16, she's got a great future.
Absolutely.
Jada
Clark was another one that really impressed me. She had 17 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals. So she really filled up the stat sheet there. So, yeah, it just sort of got me even more excited for seeing that COE men's team. I believe they're playing Hills, I think, mid-July, Woods. It's a similar sort of deal.
2 weeks, I think you said, right?
Yeah, a couple of weeks away. So it's that Sunday morning, mid-morning type game like last time. So looking forward to see that. And they're killing it. They're like 19-1, the men's team. They've almost got the minor premiership wrapped up in that competition. So, and we want to wish, I think 6 of the girls on that COE women's team that are off to Spain on the 4th of July for the Under-19s World Cup. So we want to wish them all the best there and, yeah, come home and bring a medal.
Terrific. Absolutely. Good luck to the girls. Any other NBL1 news you got for us?
No, look, it's the last double header for Hills this season. So Hills are playing Central Coast. I was sharing a few messages for a friend of ours and NBL1 East expert Jacinta today, just about some of the players involved in that game. So really looking forward to call that one. And then, yeah, cheering on the Hills men are currently 7th and moving their way up the ladder. So they're a very good chance to make finals this year, which would be a huge achievement. So, yeah, really looking forward to that. And, yeah, I'm still continuing to watch some of the other leagues as well and expand my knowledge there. But, no, it's been a great NBL1 season for sure.
Terrific. What a great product it is.
It is.
All right. So, terrific show today. A lot of content we got through. Really exciting what the off-season holds in store for the NBA, the NBL. A lot going on in the basketball world at the moment. So I must say before we close out the show, we are going to take a little bit of a break and have our show on probably every fortnight now as we lead into the NBL and NBA preseasons, right? So, yeah.
We'll take a couple of weeks off. Maybe after a couple of weeks off, we might need to be back on every week, Woods, to be honest, if we're going to be doing our previews. And I think there's going to be a lot of other stuff. We'll see how we go, though. See how much news there is. Look, obviously, if July 1 starts and there's like 10 players that change teams and Trae Young gets traded, all these amazing things happen. Maybe we will jump it.
For sure.
I think we probably need a couple of weeks break there. I know there's obviously, the content's probably dropping off a little bit there, so it's probably a good time for us to get a little bit of a break. But we can't wait to get back after that break and keep bringing all the news.
For sure, absolutely. So why don't you tell the audience a little bit about where we can be found, all the information.
Absolutely. So, we can be found on YouTube. So make sure if you're not already subscribing, you please do so. Leave a comment, leave a like there. You can also be followed on Twitter at Throwback Hoops. On Instagram, throwback.hoops. Email address is throwbackhoops.podcast@gmail.com. So, as I mentioned when I was talking about these sleeve jerseys here, if you've got any photos of ones that you own there or any comments about them, put them on our socials there. Let us know what you think about them. Do you love them? Do you hate them? I'm sure probably not a lot of people are going to say they love them, but it'd be interesting to sort of hear back some people there. And what about yourself there, Woods?
Look, we just appreciate everyone's support. Like, this is almost the end of a season of the show, and everyone's support throughout the year has been amazing over the last year. We thank you, and we do have a Patreon account, so for whoever pledges their support and has done so, we really appreciate you.
We should say as well, Woods, obviously not going to have them over these next couple of weeks and we have a break, but we've already got some quality guests lined up for when we're back. And I sort of teased it last week, but, we've got some former NBL All-Stars. We've got some people in the media. We're also going to try and get some people back that have been really sort of popular guests in the past.
Definitely.
Guys we mentioned like Jacob Jackomas, Matt McQuaid, and some guys that have, been really, really great episodes when we've had them on. So can't wait to be bringing all that again.
Right on. So we will see you in a few weeks. Until then, Robbie, you got any final thoughts for our audience and our fans?
Thanks, John Collins, for your service. And I'm going to get out of this sleeve jersey pretty soon, I think.
All right. From the Throwback Hoops family, just peace out.